CGP.
Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
Video games, culture, anime, toys, pinball, tabletop.
CGP.
Cleveland
Gaming Podcast.
Here we go.
CGP. This is the Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
CGP.
Time to press start.
What's up, fellow nerds, gamers, and everyone in between? That's right, you're back listening to the Cleveland Gaming Podcast. My name is Corey. I'm the program director, MC of the show, number 3 on the leaderboard. But don't worry, I'm earning points, and I'm catching up to him. Number 1 on the leaderboard, it is the final boss, Tom Jenkins. Tom, I gotta say, you're looking quite a bit fancier after our weekend in ColossalCon. I feel like you got a glow up with all the cosplay that was happening around Kalahari.
There were two things. I feel like I learned a lot.
You learned a lot. You saw and learned a lot, dude.
I'm just gonna leave it as I learned a lot, listener. I learned a lot. And number 2, you'll find out in this episode that I also learned I'm not as good as Halo as I thought I was. So, but yeah, I'm here. We're back. We're a little. Corey and I were saying before we jumped on, we're still a little tired. We're recovering a little bit. It was a long weekend, but you had a lot more to do than I did. Corey moved in to Colossal on Wednesday, so it was a full 5 days there for you. I only did what, 2?
Let's say it's a full team effort, and the team also extends to all of our guests at the show, which includes our guests on this week's episode. Before we get into it, a few bits of housekeeping and upkeeping. This episode is brought to you by you, so thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe. Yeah, just listen. Just take a second. Press pause. And then just click that up arrow with a little box underneath it. Share it somewhere. It's awesome. You're great.
We'll wait. All right.
All right, we're good?
We're good.
All right. The other brought to you by is, of course, the show proper, the Cleveland Gaming Classic. It is September 19th through the 21st, so make sure you get your tickets today. And hey, if you haven't thought about a VIP pass, we got some exciting things happening with that this year. Haven't announced it yet, but trust me, it'll be well worth the time, the everything. It's going to be an awesome, awesome show this year, no matter how you enjoy the Cleveland Gaming Classic.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah. What?
See, this listener is one I was hoping he would pick up at the end of my denouement at the intro there, but that's okay. We're going to swing into our guest and pretend that long silence didn't happen. So, Tom, let's go ahead and...
I told you I'm still tired. Sorry.
It's quite clear, Tom. You better get yourself a shot of Jameson and wake up, because we're going to go talk to our guests this week. Kyle, Malinda, I have to say, I am so immensely pleased when I look at all of your content, seeing Clive and Jill from Final Fantasy 16 represented, and y'all wear it so well. I absolutely adore it. Is that your favorite Final Fantasy game?
Probably not our favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's a good game, like modern time game. Like, they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, I think that, like, obviously every Final Fantasy has its own charm, and I really like how well done this game was, and that I feel like I didn't have a whole lot of complaints for it. There were some issues I had with the ending that might honestly have ruined it a little for me, but otherwise I enjoyed playing it. It was a lot more, fast-paced than your traditional Final Fantasy, but I still enjoyed it, mostly for the story, the narrative, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I personally loved the combat.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I haven't enjoyed a combat system as good as that since X2. I adore that game quite a bit. And just spoiler warning for anyone listening. I'm wondering, Melinda, are you talking about the book? Was it the book for the ending?
It's well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I just felt like I wanted more. I wanted better closure.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a terrible ending per se. It just felt a little cliche compared to what, like, it felt like it was building up to something different, and then it kind of let us down a little bit. That's kind of our personal preference. I wouldn't say it was a terrible ending. It just wasn't our preferred ending.
Tom, with your vast knowledge of all things Final Fantasy, can you please weigh in on the ending of this game? Don't worry, I'll put a spoiler warning in there for everyone, Tom. So please feel free to give us your fully expert opinion.
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, listeners, I didn't have time to Google or throw anything into
What?
ChatGPT about what is it we're talking about Final Fantasy
16, actually.
7?
16.
10?
Remember before we
Oh,
did the
well,
math on it, you're
I
like
just learned about-
32, and I'm like half of that. That was a good moment.
Right, yeah. I said that to Corey the other day. I said, what are we on, Final Fantasy 32? And he said, no, we just talked about this.
But I will say, when it comes to things like dreams and fantasies and realizations of reality, I cannot believe that we have two amazing guests on this podcast right now, prolific in the cosplay community, in content creation, and quite frankly, just putting out a wonderful vibe on the internet for people enjoying an artistic domain in video games. Kyle, Malinda, welcome to the Cleveland Gaming Podcast. How are y'all doing today?
Great.
Doing great.
Yeah. Just another work day, but
Yeah, we're happy to be here, though. It's a nice break from work.
For sure. And all of our listeners, you should know that these two are actually going to be joining us at the Cleveland Gaming Classic this year. And we actually found the two of you through our connections at a show that we were just at, Tom, not more than a day or two ago. And that's ColossalCon. You all came so highly recommended from the top people at ColossalCon.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Why don't you tell the listeners what was your most memorable moment being at ColossalCon? And then I'm going to throw that over to the two of you as well, just to kind of give people a vibe of the great partnership we have there.
Well, obviously, besides your panel, Corey, of course, you did a great job on your panel. You really did. So, I mean, honestly, you don't get enough props. You did a great job on your panel. And then, but I would say another memorable moment was the Name That Tune or Name That Sound video game trivia we attended, which we clearly learned we know nothing.
As showrunners of a video game, you'd be surprised to know, Kyle and Melinda, that we are actually very poor at musical Name That Tune, apparently.
oh.
I mean, I was getting to the point where I was just guessing that the games were going to be like Elevator Sim 2.
I was saving that because that was part 2 of that moment when Corey yelled out Elevator Sim 2, and whoever the panel host was said, "Is that a real game?" And it was to that level we realized, okay, this actually has potential to be a game. How amazing are the times we live in.
Why don't you tell the two of us, Melinda, Kyle, have y'all been to ColossalCon? Any memories of that show?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
we went a long time ago.
It has been a minute, but we used to go to that one pretty frequently. We worked up in Chicago with Art of Wigs for a number of years, and they liked to go to that one, so we were introduced to the con through them. And we went maybe 3 or 4 years, I want to say, before we just kind of took a break from it, and then time gets away from us. We haven't been back since. But I'd definitely go back at some point. It's a fun con.
Absolutely agree. Well, since we have the two of you on the show, we've kind of been chatting already, but, we got to get to the procedural. We got to know. What game are the two of you playing right now? Are you playing something together? Do you have individual games that you're tackling at the moment? Would love to know.
So we've been traveling a lot, so I haven't been home much to play, but I've been playing the Octopath Traveler mobile game.
Oh, baby, I love that.
I got hooked on that recently, and I can't put it down. So
It looks a lot like the base games.
yeah, I think it's really well done for being a gacha game.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I haven't been like free to play with it, but I just love Octopath a lot. So
And you may or may not be aware that Elden Ring Night Rain just dropped, and I got hooked on that one. It's been pretty fun. It's basically like a spin-off game from Elden Ring where it's like multiplayer and it's like fast-paced, kind of battle royale style. It's pretty fun.
I have to say, I am very, very bad at Elden Ring, but our friend Dan Lalo would definitely be playing that right now. Friend of the show. He's a big Elden Ring guy. Kyle, how many times have you actually have you played through it a couple times? Have you gone through the whole Shadow of the Erd Tree expansion?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've played base game 2 or 3 times. I've beaten Shadow of the Erd Tree once. I want to hit it again sometime soon. And pretty much like I'm a Souls veteran. Like I'm always playing some Souls game throughout the year, each year, even if it's a replay.
Hey, that's a classy game for a classy guy. Tom, tell us, what are you playing right now?
What am I playing? Oh yeah, I don't know why. I picked up playing again. We're getting into show season, so time is limited. As I always make excuses, I still have not picked up Final Fantasy VII to play. But
You've got
I
multiple
did
people
play-
and multiple episodes now, Tom. They're gonna hold you to the fire.
I know it's so bad, but I haven't. I stopped playing Baldur's Gate 3 because I just don't have an hour or two to pick it up at a time now. So with 15 minutes or 25 minutes, by the time I go to bed, I've been sadly playing Apex Legends again. I don't know why. It's just my safe. I have 15 minutes to burn, 20 minutes to burn. I'll do it, then go to sleep or pass out while I'm playing and queue matchmaking.
Have either of you ever played Apex Legends? I can't say I ever have.
No, I know of it. It's not one that I've touched personally. I have a little bit of a limited rotation of games that are like once I get into one, it's usually like put into my favorites and then I replay a lot. So I never got around to that one.
You always play Bloodborne.
Yeah.
But Corey, what are you playing right now?
Tom, got it. I love it, man. You're right on top of it this time.
Trying.
Same thing with limited time, but having just been at Colossal Con for the last 4 days and we set up our booth, I will say it was a delight to take on all of the people in that visiting area in Soul Calibur 2, which is one of my go-tos. Very excited for it to be on the Switch 2 at some point and jump into online multiplayer with that. It's never been a possibility in the past, so this is going to be a brand new journey, so I'm pretty excited for that.
Oh, it sounds really cool. I played Soul Calibur 2 back in the day. It's been a minute, but I'd go back to it if it's online on the Switch.
Oh yeah, Switch 2 is going to have the GameCube, the library of games, as it were, and in the announcement video, they said that's going to be online, so I'm ready. Hey, who's your main? Just out of curiosity, Kyle, who's your main character?
I was a Nightmare player. I wasn't a good Nightmare player, but I was a Nightmare player.
It's funny, the line between button mashing and actual good playing of the game is very, very thin, so I think you're just as good as anybody, probably.
That's why I'm bad at Elden Ring.
And Corey will casually bring up Soul Calibur too. It's funny, at Colossal Con this weekend, he was waiting for a match, apparently challenged somebody. Corey, keep me honest here if I got this right or not, but was waiting for someone. He just happened to be by Soul Calibur 2, challenged this guy to Soul Calibur 2. I came back, I don't even know how many seconds later, a minute and a half, 2 minutes later. I was like, oh, what happened to that match with you and the guy? And I already crushed him. And I was like, oh, great, he's gone. So, if you're looking for a game at the show with Soul Calibur, Corey will gladly take you up on that.
See, it's not fair, Tom. It's a 20-year-old game, and we run booths, and I set it up all the time, so I just get this latent experience that people don't have. It'd be the same thing as someone, like, playing you, Tom, in Halo, or...
No. So at Colossal, someone came up, and they're like, hey, do you want to jump in this game we were running Halo free-for-all. I got crushed. I will admit it. Absolutely dominated. This one guy's like, oh, I haven't played Halo in years. I'm like, yeah, right. Like, you're just dominating everybody. So, and I'm admitting that here on the podcast, so maybe you weren't there.
Kyle, Malinda, you can attest that I was about to give Tom a pass on his performance, but what a humble guy. He just picks it up and admits his defeat. That's a true test of a showrunner.
Their silence says everything. Great job.
Fair enough. Well, let's dive into getting to know a little bit more about the two of you. Every good CGC hero pair has an origin story, so why don't you do us a favor and recount the story of how the two of you got into cosplay? Was it a show, character? Did the two of you end up meeting through that artistic medium? Would love to know.
Actually, we were friends before we got into cosplay. We were like, in the anime club together in high school. And that's kind of where we learned about cosplay. Like, it was the dream of every, otaku to go out to, like, Otakon or some big anime convention to just experience, because we're old. Anime just wasn't as accessible and well-known back then. So it was just to be able to be in a community of people just sounded a lot of fun. But kind of in the meantime, while we were, stuck in our little Midwest hometown, it was like, encouraged to dress up for Halloween events or to go to for the homecoming parade. They always had, like, each club could represent what their club was, and so it was encouraged to dress up as your favorite characters for the homecoming parade. So I did Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. As like that was my first cosplay, me knowing what cosplay was.
Yeah.
But if you want to get technical, I did make a Jigglypuff when I was in 6th grade. So.
Yeah, and I would say my first recognizable costume was a Bash the Stampede from Trigun.
Completely fair. I back in the day, I didn't have much scope on anime myself. I actually learned through playing various TCGs because over there in the east side of the world, there's a lot more trading card games, and I learned through all that engagement. It's kind of funny how we find our way into our main mediums through side projects, whether it was the club that you guys were going in and out of, or whether it is just, through different engagements and games. So I totally understand where y'all are coming from, and I think that's a pretty cool perspective. Now, I know the two of you are going to be giving us some really good content at the show as well. Seeing that we have, let's say, some wizened years on us, can you tell us, like, where was the moment? Like, can you recognize when cosplay became something that could be engaged by a larger group, not just necessarily a small niche group, but maybe something that was more widely recognized in the zeitgeist?
It was starting to pick up around the time that we were getting into it. Like, you would see it at cons, and like people at cons knew what it was. And then within like 5 or so years, as social media started to bloom, you started to get more online ability to communicate with each other and form groups that way. And so naturally, like, cosplay started to spread that way. There was a couple of TV programs here and there, but I would say, like, largely social media was probably the big hit that really made cosplay blow up. Just that ability to, like, connect and share your stuff online, help educate other people on how to do it. That really helped a lot.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense, Tom. What the rise of social media really connected with the growth of cosplay. I couldn't imagine really the two of them existing separately.
Yeah, no, and I always think it's interesting too. Obviously, we, like to look at the history of everyone that we come to the show and all their cosplay and everything. I always find it interesting to go to your socials and see the evolution. And like you're saying, first costume was Jigglypuff to what it is today. And the cosplay you're doing today, and I'm sure it's kind of humble too to look back and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this, but look at what I'm doing now, right? And see how that matures as well. Then, yeah, it's fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was a early competition that's pretty well renowned nowadays, the C2E2 Crown Championship. I was actually the first winner of that. And if I was to take that costume that I won with and try to enter it these days, I would be laughed off the stage. Like, the difference in quality in the last 10 years is ridiculous. Like, I look at that costume and I just kind of, I don't want to look at it.
Well, yeah, we all are our own worst critics.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We know.
I'd say so jokingly, of course.
Yeah, but it was a good costume. It's just that because of what we're capable now and the resources that are available now and the tools, it's a lot. I think we kind of mentioned this in our panel that we'll be doing, but we just talk about how, like, the present day generation of cosplayers have a lot more at their disposal to really kind of escalate in terms of their abilities. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, for us, it was just a lot of, like, slow going, learning things, and I mean, it's great to see, like, that it's a lot more accessible now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm. And we look at it the same way even from show running, right? I mean, even if I think about things we're talking about today, I was just texting a friend of the show, and he helps us 3D print part of our badges or set pieces and things like that. Again, if we were to look back at the show 5 years ago, like, we didn't even have those things, right? And now we can partner with other organizations too that can just do massive 3D print jobs for us, right? Similar to, again, I'm sure how you designed, built costumes and everything from now what you have at your disposal today, where you can do those all automatically at home and it'll come off the 3D printer in 4 hours,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We definitely have a 3D printer. Those things are
right.
A game changer.
Yep.
Would tend to agree. And one thing as well, I think, Tom, you kind of brought up, I thought was a fascinating connection to our two guests, is like show running or building a show, just like we have other shows in the area, CCAG, Korgs, GDEX, that we love to work with, exhibit at Colossal Con as well, that by working together with these different groups, we all learn a little bit and grow together. And I think that might reflect a little bit into the cosplay community as well, between panels and, of course, online resources. Would you agree with that statement, Kyle and Melinda, that it really has grown due to a community base?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been a really great thing to witness over the years since we've been in. It's what's kept us doing it all this time too. Is like the community has always been very strong, and very like helpful with each other. I mean, there's definitely corners of any community that can get a little competitive or problematic here and there, but overall, like cosplay has been a very welcoming and strong community.
I love that. Truly, I do adore it. My main community is a card game called Magic the Gathering, and there are people that will help you, but sometimes the spirit of competition can get in front of everything else. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it's really good to see that some communities are driven in another direction. But looking at your content and your socials, and all of our listeners, make sure you look at the show notes if you want to check out these two if you don't know much about them. One thing that strikes me is just the wideness of not just manga, but pop culture and a lot of different costumes in between. And, I'm kind of curious, what makes you want to land on creating a cosplay? Is it a confluence of factors? Does maybe one character's popularity, or is it how the story resonates with the two of you? How does that decision-making process kind of like translate?
I do think that there's a lot of factors. I do have to like the character to an extent, to have that, drive to want to invest my time and money into them. But also like it has to usually have a design that it's like, as an artist, I have to look at the design and be like, I want to make that. But sometimes it does come to just like I'm enjoying something with my friends and maybe we want to do something fun together at an event, so we might plan a group, and sometimes I'll just pick a character that is just part of the group to fill the group out more and just have more fun and banter with my friends. Like doing group costumes especially tend to be the biggest drive for me, I'd say. But I tend to do a lot of solo projects that a lot of times get put on the basically get benched for a while because suddenly my friends want to do something and I'll be like, yes, I want to participate. So
Yeah, I find myself in the same boat. Usually I pick based on characters that I like in shows or media that I like, rather than worry about if it's popular or not. I mean, a lot of times they will be popular. That's kind of how we find out about a lot of these things too. But sometimes I'm not too worried about that. If it's just something that I like, I'm going to make the costume whether it's popular or not.
What's fascinating is sometimes, Tom, to me, and maybe the two of you can agree or disagree with this one, I find that the cosplaying of the characters actually magnifies the show itself. A great example recently to me would be Has Been Hotel. I feel like all the cosplays out there have really signal boosted the show in a way that's almost like a one-to-one correlation now.
I could agree with that. We haven't watched the show ourselves, but we know a lot about the show just through cosplay, and I've always been a proponent of this idea that cosplay is very healthy and beneficial to all of the media that it represents because it's representing them. That is assuming that you're representing them in a good way, but usually we are.
No, 100% it seems like it. And I mean, like I mentioned before, your Clive and Jill are amazing. And like it turned like a game to me that's kind of like not well received into something that has a little more artistry underneath it. And I really appreciate that. Just out of a sense of curiosity, since the two of you are a couple, how does that ever like get into like hey, I want to cosplay as this? No, I want to do this. Is there like a priority order, or do you guys do one of those cute TikTok games with like the cups down a table to figure out what you're going to do next? I can only imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean, we kind of we take turns sometimes, and I mean, a lot of times we'll have our own individual projects. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. But we do like to kind of keep some couples costumes in the loop here and there, just because it's more fun that way.
I'd say Kyle's output is a little slower than mine. So usually what happens is he will make a thing and then I'll determine whether or not I can make a thing that will go with it that I like. So with like Clive and Jill, I actually was thinking originally about cosplaying Joshua, But because he was so motivated to do Clive and he wanted me to be Jill, I was like, okay, I'll do Jill for you. That's fine. So
You would have made a good Joshua too.
yeah, but I mean, it's just like more like I don't know. That could be a little weird, I guess, to people who know us at cons. I don't know. So
maybe it's more focusing on the phoenix of it all, that you continue to rise from the ashes and burn brightly. I don't know.
Yeah, I like I do like phoenix motifs and stuff like that a lot.
Yeah,
so.
phoenixes are cool.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Tom, I got a good chuckle there with the assessment of like one person finishes something and then it's like, all right, can I go and pair it? I saw you chuckling about that with your own, I think.
Well, I was I mean, I was just thinking too. I mean, we've had a lot of guests at the show, and I was sitting here thinking, like a lot of times it's one person and then the other person is there as the handler or helping at the table or helping with the booth or assisting. So, I mean, I'm thinking to myself and my wife, like I would say I am not a good cosplayer. I will try, but I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, I think you'd make a great Kratos, don't you think you too? Like I can go right into it.
Kratos, sure.
Or a good Pac-Man. Maybe that could do well. Give us that waka waka, Tom.
Listen, you guys make a lot of wigs. That's all I'm saying. I feel like I could do a lot of great cosplay with these wigs I'm seeing on your social.
Oh yeah, no, the sky's the limit if you want to put a wig on, and that's very common with cosplay. Like wig, even whether you have hair or not, people tend to wear wigs. We all do. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the wigs you guys do are just incredible. I'm looking at them, but what I was saying, I think work doing that together is very unique, and it's cool. Like, yeah, I just think it's great, and you can then come up with things like you're saying. We can pivot to this or do this, right? But I don't know if that was shade at from you, Malinda, to to TurtleSmithy, or not, in terms of how slow you are at your builds.
She teases me about it sometimes, but I can put it right back at her that she does have a very strong output of costumes per year that not everyone can match.
Or you can spin it as, as Kyle, you're taking more time. You're just putting more care into the builds.
That is a lot of it. I tend to do quality over quantity for my own personal taste.
See, there you go.
When I try to do too many, I start cutting corners and making like poor judgment calls.
It's me that's the problem. I make too many.
Yeah, and she's good at it. You actually brought up a good point though with the duos where like a lot of times one person might be the handler. That's something that we tend to have to think about when we're cosplaying as a couple, because sometimes one or both of us will have complex costumes and we still have to kind of handle ourselves. We don't always have an extra handler on hand. So that's something we also have to consider when we do costumes, especially as guests at shows, depending on the availability of the staff and guests and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, especially if you're doing it together. The role of the handlers is subtle, but definitely an important one in the whole running of a booth or panels or what have you. So a really interesting insight, but I'd love to dip into some other insights as well. One thing that's notable about CGC, particularly in the cosplay realm, is that we really have a growing youth demographic in and around our masquerade and just being around the show in general. And I just came off of a show where I actually had a couple co-actors who were in high school, and they were talking about how cosplay is something unattainable because people put out this really great product and they just think, well, I don't have the ability to make this or that. But trying to encourage them from my point of view that things don't have to be perfect for it to be amazing. And as two people who have this artistic domain in a place that's just phenomenal, I would love to know if you have any insights maybe to give to that generation that can kind of give them a scope of maybe what the next step is or the right way to approach the beginning of their cosplay journey.
Yeah, so I think that what's really tough because of the evolution of social media and how algorithms work, you tend to see the really like quote impressive like everything, and that can be really discouraging for new cosplayers who don't understand that everyone starts somewhere. And I do think that by going to a convention, you do see all ranges of abilities, and that kind of gives you a different perspective of what cosplay is. So I do encourage going to an event if you haven't already, but also like you don't have to be investing. I would not actually invest too much into it at the start until you kind of get a feeling of what you enjoy from it, whether that is like sewing or armor making. Like you could thrift things and buy things first and just get a feel of, do you feel confident wearing a costume in general? Or making modifications to things, like you can thrift an outfit and then you might discover something that you didn't realize was something you enjoyed doing. Like when I got into cosplay, I never knew I was going to be good at styling wigs, but I was forced to create a crazy Yu-Gi-Oh wig for myself, and that's when I realized maybe I could do this a little more, you know? I think that just bits and pieces, don't put too much money into it until you know what works for you, but like it doesn't have to be expensive either. You can for your entire cosplay career work on a budget still.
Yeah, I echo pretty much all of that. I would also say that like a lot of people probably feel like it's unattainable because they feel like they have to take a lot of time to learn, and that is true. But because of the wealth of resources and information that's available now, it can jumpstart you a lot quicker than you might expect. We have a friend who's about half our age, and he's come so far in like just 2 or 3 years. Like he's almost caught up to us in skill level just because of like how much he's really good at looking into things and learning quickly. But you know, it's just he's a good example that like you don't have to necessarily have 20 years of experience to get really good at it really quickly.
I mean, there's a lot of wisdom there. I wouldn't know where to exactly pick apart it, Tom. It just all feels like a really good message. I love the idea of trying not to get overzealous at the top. I know when I get a new hobby, I'm like, all right, let's see if I can budget $700. No, like just kind of finding the way into it naturally. I mean, I think we can probably speak to that, Tom, as well from some of our own domains.
When you see it, yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, we see it every year at the show, right? We generally, again, get contacted on our website or through our socials. Hey, you know, my son or daughter is thinking about cosplaying. They've never done it before. What do you think? And we're like, yes. You know, the answer is yes. And I'm always amazed. And I think like last year, kid shows up, cardboard box turned into this amazing Minecraft, you know, build as a creeper. Just looks great. You know, green, just covered in green. You can tell a lot of, you know, care and thought and effort went into that build, and it was just amazing to see someone do that, young kid on stage getting a huge round of applause and just doing it all themselves, right? And that's exactly what it's all about. So that's what we tell people all the time that contact us via social media or anything, like, yeah, please, you know, we want them, we encourage them to try it out and be comfortable doing so.
Yeah, Tom, you remember our like they keep coming back every year with the family. Cheeks Cosplay put out that really great Billy bust up last year, and they always come to all the shows around there. I just think it's awesome. Just it really is kind of inspiring to see the kids' creativity come out of whatever it is that really drives them passionately.
Yeah, I feel like that kids have the best like opportunities in terms of like they're also still, you know, have some time to themselves that they can explore different things, and they're also in an educational space where they have an opportunity to do things like take a sewing class or things like that more easily, I think, than some people who are outside of school and don't know where to start. They have a lot of like, you know, even just having your typical art class, you'll be learning skills like sculpting and things like that that you can think, how can I apply this to this cool thing I'm doing on my own? And I think that I love to see like what kids come up with, because they always have like think differently. Like every generation is going to have different ways of thinking, and it's really cool to see that with every new generation.
Tom, you remember when we used to have just time? That one hit me in the nostalgia when she said that. Oh man, I miss time. Time is great.
I know. The whole time we were talking about this too, is you're talking about the care and the craft, right, and the detail that goes into things. So, Malinda and Kyle, so a hobby of mine that I don't get to a lot is I like to paint miniatures. So I like to play D&D, and I like the storyline and do those things. And as you were talking, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I know if I've got to whether rush to get this build done or this piece done because I've got, you know, a session coming up, but I know I could have done more. I know I could have put extra shading. I know I could have, you know, brought up the lighting on this piece, or could have done the eyes a little bit different, but I know I've got the quest. You know, we've got a session next Thursday. All right, this is good enough. And everyone, of course, like you're saying, they love it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did this, and your wig looks amazing, and your build looks amazing. And yeah, I know, but the lighting's a little off.
I mean, I get caught by it too, Tom. It's, you know, perfection, the enemy of progress, right? It's putting out something that we can be proud of, but not trying to achieve whatever it is and taking the time that we have to put out what we can.
Believe me, it's something we struggle with all the time with costuming. Yeah,
I somehow believe it. I really do.
I overbooked myself in terms of like different kinds of work that I was doing, that I had like originally thought I'm going to start on this costume after this convention in April and I will have it done by Memorial Day, and then like my time just got shorter and shorter with all these other things that I only had basically a week to work on it. I'm like, well, it is what it is, but
I'm still sure it came out wonderfully. Like we are our own worst enemies, as you said earlier, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
But let's bring it back to the show. The Cleveland Gaming Classic, we're growing a wonderful cosplay demographic. The DNA of the show, though, however, has been, always will be, video games and the world around it. And this season long, we're on a search for us to put together a list of the greatest retro games of all time. So, Malinda, Kyle, we open it up to you. Love for both of you. Maybe you came up with a joint one, whatever it might be. What do you think the greatest retro game of all time is?
well, it's a very loaded question because I have a biased opinion and a less biased opinion. I'd say that going back to Final Fantasy VII, that was kind of my gateway into games that have like a narrative, that have more like a really intense story that feels like you're reading a novel. So that was like a revolutionary game to me. However, I know that, you know, ever since I started getting into the Final Fantasy games, I have gone back and like played some of their earlier titles, and I'd say Final Fantasy VI, you know, did it first. Like it was also very good. It was, I would say Final Fantasy VI is probably going to be up there.
Nice.
And then jointly, if you want to talk about what we...
Yeah, I think we were talking about it on a walk the other day, and we kind of thought jointly that, like, as far as like world influence goes and like the before and after of video games, like probably one of the most impactful ones that I can think of off the top of my head would be Pokemon. Honestly, like that one really brought like a lot of attention to the RPG genre in like the West and around the world. And like it was what kind of got me like more heavily into video games. Like beforehand, like I knew what video games were. I would go over to a friend's house and play Super Mario World. Like if I had to have like a personal choice of retro game outside of Pokemon, I'd probably slip in Turtles in Time. That was a favorite of mine when I was a kid. But yeah, I think Pokemon is probably what I would think is really high up there on the list.
I love it. All those are going to be added to our overall list. Funny enough, Tom, no one yet has actually mentioned Pokemon, and I was like, oh, I feel like we're just now getting it. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, and it's so true what you said. You know, I mean, it is wild.
Like the fact that they've made, you know, like it's still going. You know, the franchise is still going, and you've had reboots of these older games to kind of more modernize them.
Yeah.
Says a lot. I feel like a lot of, I mean, that's honestly, even for me, like where I say, you know, Final Fantasy VII is kind of what got me into games, like becoming what I would say at that point is when I became a gamer. I did play Pokemon around the same time. And that was definitely one I was hooked on, like from the Red and Blue.
Yeah, the two of us made friends over
Yeah,
Pokemon.
we basically met because of Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's adorable. So, I mean, I got to ask then, who are your starters? Like, do you have the same starter? Do you have like some contention as like someone's fire to their water?
I mean, both of us picked Charmander, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean,
which is objectively the correct choice. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a playthrough with each of them,
but
I do think Charmander was my default starter.
But my favorite starter period is Rowlet. So
I respect that choice too. I really do. But I would agree. Charizard, you get a flying dragon, man.
Yeah.
It's fire. How do you beat that, Tom? How do you beat that, Tom?
I don't know. I think it's a strong pick. I love it.
Coming in with the hot take. I love it, Tom. Well, all those games we're going to put up into our final list of greatest retro games of all time. And at the show, we're going to figure out what that list looks like after this season-long journey. And the two of you are available at that time. We'd love to have you to see how we can shake out the wholeness of the list from top to bottom. But let's get ourselves to our final bit here of the show, the Cleveland Gaming Podcast. We got to end on an engaging note. We got to find a way to bring it all together, and so we got our end of episode engagement here. And one thing that unites us all, whether it's an anime convention like a Colossal Con or a C2E2, or of course the Cleveland Gaming Classic, you need a good amount of wisdom, some prep time to go into the show. And, well, we're living in a time of AI, so I thought to myself, why not find a way to mobilize all of it into some kind of game? So here's what I did, Kyle and Malinda, is I went and did a little AI search and asked them to put together a top 10 list of things that you should bring with you when you go to a convention. And I'm curious if the two of you can work it out and try to figure out what that list looks like. Tom and I are here to help you out, see if we can guess the fullness of the list, and in the end, we can see if maybe AI got it right or got it wrong. Kind of curious if this is actually a legitimate list. I'm looking at it right now, and I think there's some pretty wild and things I would have never thought of to bring to a con.
There were definitely some things we didn't bring this weekend to Colossal Con. And yes, Corey and I shared an Airbnb, and we stayed up till 3 a.m, I feel like, every night. So we're not going to give you any hints to start. So we'll see if you can refresh the last con you were at, and what's in that list of things that have to be in your backpack or suitcase.
I guess the other question is this with the expectation that you're staying on site, or that you're coming from home?
I would say for this
on
one,
site,
it's
I think,
Yeah, on site.
Okay.
Yeah, you're spending a weekend. You're
Right.
away.
And
I will say nothing on here is like clothes or dop kit stuff. It's not like
Okay.
the toothbrush. Just looking at the list right now.
So deodorant is on the list?
So I was gonna say, so toothbrush and deodorant are optional, exactly. It is a con. It is a con. So.
This is a point I was going to get to. I hate to say it. The list did not come out with deodorant, which makes me pretty
That's
mad.
upsetting.
Big mad. That's big.
We were upset this weekend.
I've been seeing people going around at cons with like bag of deodorant that they just hand out to people.
Like
And,
travel size.
Like it's
There was
admirable, but
What was it? The Order of Old Spice was at Colossal this weekend. We may have gotten a brochure for that.
Mea culpa. Mea culpa. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not on the list. But just throw some guesses out there. What do you think is on this top 10 things to bring to a con list?
Okay, so I did try to preemptively think of some
Love it.
things. And I put down like a water bottle and snacks.
Got two of them right off the top.
Yeah.
Nice.
your phone and a power source for recharging the phone.
So there wasn't a phone, but you did kind of cover two of them there because the AI list thought a power bank, but then also a phone charger. So apparently you need both. I don't know.
Okay,
I
well,
think they're nailing it though so far. But I need to know what snacks are you bringing?
Good question.
What snacks? What
Come on,
snacks
say
you
Mounds
got?
Bar. Say Mounds
I-
Bar. Say Mounds Bar.
I actually like goldfish crackers.
Yeah, and Cheez-Its.
I'm definitely more a Cheez-It guy myself. Classy. But no other flavor, just the original. They've never done a flavor to me. I just need an original Cheez-It. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Another thing to bring, probably a bag. And not just like the bag that your clothes is in, but like a bag to carry
Like-
around at the show.
Carry your merch, or
Yeah.
like if you go to the artist alley, not every artist has a bag to give you, like something to put all your buys in.
So that actually, I think you covered another two right there. So they put like a shopping bag. And then this one, I thought, I'm not quite sure. It's number 10 on the list. It's a bag seal. So like something that zips it in to keep things like not leaking. Thought that was a weird.
That is
AI, what are you doing?
interesting.
What are you buying at Artist Alley that's
Not
leaking?
Nothing that I want to admit out
I mean,
loud.
I guess
That's
if you
what
put
it
your
is.
water bottle in your bag.
Right?
If something spills out of your water bottle, I don't know. Yeah,
Probably.
I don't know.
I think that's right.
I think you need a new water bottle then. That's probably
100% agree. So you'll actually have 6 of the 10 already locked in.
Oh, nice.
Boom. Easy. Killing you.
I mean, are costumes on the list?
I would assume. But
There's not costumes, but there is an accessory for a particular piece of costuming, which I'm like, yes, objectively, that's correct.
like a wig.
I know. I'm trying to think. I guess
If you're moving,
An
if you're
umbrella?
moving and grooving, and you want to feel comfortable, what might you want to do?
I mean, shoes are a good thing to have in general.
the comfortable shoes.
Boom. There it is. I feel like they're doing too well, Corey. You guys close Google. It's fine. You're in a safe place.
No, we've just been going to cons for 20 years, so we.
My other guess was going to be an umbrella, but that's dependent, like an umbrella. But that's dependent on if you even go outside.
Yeah, not quite on the list, the umbrella, but yeah, definitely legitimate if you know it's an outside con, like a Ren Fair. I'd probably pack that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or sometimes like the hotel isn't always directly connected to the convention center, so sometimes we'll bring an umbrella if we know that fact, just on the off chance that weather gets weird.
Well, since phone wasn't on the list, surely your wallet, if you don't have like Apple Pay.
I think they're not going with like the basic three, right? Like phone, keys, wallet. They're
ID.
like, no, that's just a general thing you do.
Phone, keys, wallet, deodorant, toothbrush. We're
Please.
staying away from the basics. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Things that they would bring to a
I mean,
convention.
cash. It's probably not. It isn't included with wallet. So.
Yeah.
I do like that choice though, because just having the cash to me actually what helps out. I budget way better if I actually have cash on me and I'm not just like keeping my card and like using it.
Or like sometimes the vendor hall, like the internet's down and it won't. No one's taking card or they're trying and it's just not. Like I feel like something like specifying that cash should be like an alternative way of paying would be good.
Not on their list, but I like the choice and I think it's better than bag seal. You only have 3 left and y'all are doing great so far. You've got water bottle snack, power source, which covered 2 items, shopping bag and the bag seal. And the other one was comfy shoes, so like alternate shoes besides if you're wearing cosplays or doing a lot of walking, and then like with inserts possibly. So you only got 3 things left here. One of them I would be surprised if gotten, but I like keep grinding at it. Y'all get this.
Maybe a hat.
No, well, not if you're wearing a fragile wig. If you're cosplaying Mr. Cloud Strife.
Yeah, it depends on the character. But as a normal attendee, I would see myself bringing a hat.
No hat on the list. No hat here.
Fair enough.
So a little hint on this one, I would say on certain days, you want to make sure like you're feeling up to your best.
Makeup.
After a long night out of me and Tom drinking at the bar, waking up in the morning, and then feeling a little groggy, we might take this.
A medication.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do take medication, but I guess we kind of default that in the DOP kit, like the toiletries and stuff. But as it, yeah.
Completely fair.
I was gonna say we're getting older. We probably all need this, right?
Yeah, we'll kind of like combine that with another one, Tom. They have medicine and first aid kit kind of in the same breath.
I thought about mentioning first aid, but I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, me too.
But not
like, don't you think the venue would have something?
Well,
yeah, it's not a terrible idea. I mean, you can't be too safe, I guess.
Well, and like this fits in the realm of like costume attendees, but like I usually also have like a cosplay first aid kit.
Yeah,
I definitely would have accepted that answer. There's one more left, and I think this is kind of crazy. But Tom, this actually happened to you.
Yeah.
This one,
I was waiting for you guys to say that too.
It happened to you. If you remember, Tom, this weekend you're like, I don't have a business card on me. I don't have a pen.
This one's a stretch.
So a pen.
Or a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Which is used to.
I actually think a pen is a smart thing to have at a convention because like there's a lot of different reasons you wouldn't want to have a writing device for.
Well, I guess it's like if you wanted like a Sharpie, it's like if you met a guest that you wanted their autograph, but in most cases it's not something you can ask for unless they're at their table in which they have their own stock of Sharpies.
Yeah.
I feel like.
First off, I love that. Great etiquette. Wait for someone to be at a table. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think, Tom, I'm just gonna let him have it because this is kind of a crazy one. I feel like the AI, which I generated this list like a few days ago, apparently doesn't realize that you can make notes on your phone. They're like a notebook to write down where locations are. This is like the Family Feud game. They're like, who in the heck did they take a poll 100 people from?
one out of 100 people said, and it says keep track of vendor locations and interesting items you might want to return to. I'm like,
No.
what? Don't they know you're looking at a map on your phone or taking a screenshot?
We're going that direction.
You've already got a phone charger and a power bank. Why do you need a notebook?
Right.
If we're going that direction, I'd say like a retro con list would have to include a disposable camera.
That is really retro, actually. I love that a lot.
No, it used to be the case. Like the first cons we went to, like for a good 2 or 3 years in our early days of con going, people had either digital cameras or disposable cameras because like phones, like smartphones weren't really that prolific at first. We had flip phones still.
The old flip phone did it have the worm game on it?
Bust out that razor.
Yeah. And it was like a chore to find like a ringtone of anything nerdy.
You had to go to another website and download a specific file and then plug it into your computer. Yeah, no, I'm there with you. I was at that point. Well, we went through the whole list. Just for everyone here in the room and those listening, here's what the AI put down as your top 10 thing list to bring to a con. A reusable water bottle, power bank, comfortable shoes, a small first aid kit, snacks, medication, a phone charger, like it's not different than a power bank. Like what? Am I not remembering the cord? Shopping bags, notebook, and bag seal. I'm not going to lie. I read this list when I generated it and I'm like, I'm glad that AI isn't advanced enough because I feel like this list is not great and I would not feel like I need to bring most of these things.
I still don't understand the bag seal.
I don't either. Is it? I'm like,
yeah, the bag seal's a weird one. I could see the notebook like in like different kind of contexts. Like if you're the type that like is interacting with people and like doing like I don't know, little mini games with friends, and you're just like tic-tac-toe or some like
now,
sketching or something.
I will say though that like we go to this, we're doing this cosplay conference again this year where it is strictly all cosplay education, and there's people who would bring stuff to take notes during the panels, like they would take notes like it's a class, like so I could see a notebook being utilized someplace like there.
There's definitely people who still prefer traditional notes over phone. I think it just comes down to your own mindset. Like I like the digital notes on my phone because I always have my phone on me, so like it's something I can interact with immediately in any scenario versus you have to think to bring a notebook somewhere. You just don't, most people don't always carry a notebook on them.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually still live off of a traditional written planner.
Yeah.
So
I try.
Planners are different though. Planners are like awesome. I love a good planner.
I love planners.
I love planners, but I always forget to use them.
Well, with this list down, is there anything else? I mean, you already mentioned a few things like cosplay repair kit. I like that a lot. I very much like the idea of deodorant. Please and thank you. What else would you maybe recommend people coming to any kind of convention that maybe we didn't mention here?
Well, I mean, I do think that like it's different if you're a cosplayer, like what kind of things you'll bring. Like you could even have like those I was introduced to these when we were in Japan. There's these like pads that you could put on like your feet or in sore spots.
It's kind of like Icy Hot.
Yeah, but they're like,
Maybe.
but it's not an ointment, it's a pad.
Yeah, it's just a little patch that you slap on.
Yeah, I like those. I have a portable fan that I usually have too. That
for heat.
It's like it's a combination fan that like is also a power bank.
Nice.
Those are lifesavers in the summer. Also, like if you're just wearing a costume that's really hot.
We actually print out lists of things to pack for cons a lot of times because as a costumer, it's a lot more damaging if you forget something because it could make or break you wearing the costume at the event. We actually had a near catastrophe at HH Mart, HH America. I keep calling it HH Mart. I don't know why.
There is an H Mart.
Yeah. Okay.
It kind of sounds like a dystopian like conglomerate. I like it.
Yeah. Well, there was a sewing conference, and we wore Clive and Jill to that, and we forgot my wig. So we were staying at a friend's house, and they just happened to have another black wig on hand that Malinda styled in one evening just as a makeshift. And
it worked out.
But any other con where you're already at the hotel, that would have been the end of it. Like I wouldn't have been able to wear the costume.
You would have
like,
been bald, Clive.
I'm bald. So.
I will say that there's also like things that I usually also bring that not everyone brings, like a steamer. I prefer steaming my costumes instead of using like the iron that is in the hotel room.
Sure.
But yeah, these are all things that like me as a cosplayer I think to bring, but not maybe everyone would bring.
Yeah.
Honestly, great insights. And if just one person maybe goes and finds that awesome, weird, icy hot, then I think we've done something good here today. But speaking of good, it wasn't just good. It was great to have the two of you on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining the Cleveland Gaming Podcast here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been great.
Of course, before we let you go, why don't you tell all of our listeners where they can find you? I know you have multiple different mediums. I would love for people to kind of know about getting those connections forming in the cosplay community around CGC.
So I am Malinda-Chan on most social media platforms, all one word, MALINDACHIN. But I am most active on my Instagram, and it's Malinda_Chan.
As for me, I am TurtleSmithy. Usually it's either one word or sometimes there's an underscore to space it out. But I have TurtleSmithy as a products page on Instagram, and then I have a second Instagram that's TurtleSmithy Cos, COS for cosplay. But usually you can find one through the other if you can't remember both. So it's not too hard to find me.
Well, make sure all of my listeners go and look them up. Check out their awesome artistry. Give them a follow. It's well worth it. And also, they might just give you some really good tips about how to survive a con. I'm into it, 100%. Well, Tom, after talking with our two amazing guests and kind of packing our bag for the shows we're going to be going to, whether it's Geek Peak, Great Oaks, CCAG, maybe we're going to a Brew Kettle event, I feel like I'm more ready to tackle some of those great shows and ours as well coming up.
But I'd be curious, Corey, when they were talking, we were going through the list, like I was thinking about a couple things I always bring to every show. Were you thinking about that as well?
Tell me. No, I'm interested in what I'm thinking about it now.
Mine are always chapstick. I always make sure
That's a good
chapstick.
call. That's a good call.
Because all of a sudden you're standing there like, oh, I put up a water bottle, been talking for 3 days, blah, blah, blah. My lips are dry, chapstick, done. Then the second one is either gum or a cough drop. Just because, you're talking all day, you're eating, you're drinking, and then also keeps your throat nice and moist and relaxed because you're going to be talking all the time. Yes, I said moist on the podcast. You're welcome.
We heard it.
But you also need that. Deodorant and toothbrush. If you don't have the toothbrush, 100%. You could still
maybe
get
that
away
toothbrush,
with
the deodorant,
drop.
yes.
Yeah.
Toothbrush might be a little much, but I respect the deodorant 100%.
Yeah. Please,
as long as the mint or cough drop doesn't dry out your whole vocal system, and then you just need like more liquids, and that's just a lot to take in sometimes.
Yeah, but I think those are some things that we're missing from the list. But I feel good because you used AI to generate this list, and we're all still safe.
I was inspired by you, Tom. I
feel like it also gives us some cred that we're not all doomed, because kind of part of this list I feel like is garbage. So we're better off. We're still safe. We're good for now.
It makes me feel actually quite a bit better. One thing I think criminally off of this list, though, there's no energy drink. Where's your Alani? Where's the Celsius? I need to slam something midway through just to keep on trucking sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Did you drink that Celsius I gave you at Colossal, that retro Celsius or whatever it was? Did you ever drink it?
It's actually still in my bag. I had another one I had to finish, and I was at the point where if I had another energy drink on top of the coffee, I would have crashed out while breaking down our booth, and I think I had to be the one driving that one. So,
well, the good news is you can save it for later, just like you can save the file on this podcast.
That's right. But before you do that, listeners, why don't you let us know in the comments what's in your to-go kit, your needs to bring to a convention? Are you the kind of person that enjoys a good mint? Do you bring a toothbrush? Let us know. Also, like, share, subscribe, and buy those tickets for the Cleveland Gaming Classic today. That's March 19th through the 21st, 2025. It's going to be a great show. Don't you agree, Tom?
I just like how I threw you off so subtly there on how I connected the save and you got a kick out of that. But yes, I agree, Corey. I agree.
I feel like I was just the right amount of shaken up, but I kept on the track.
You did.
We almost crashed hard, but we didn't. We're good.
We are good. Back to you, Corey.
Nope, back to you, Tom.
Do I have to resave the file? I'm
Yeah,
saving
you
it again.
do.
All right, well, let's.
We need the sequence, Tom. We need the sequence.
I am backing up my save file, and we hit save to the save of the CGP podcast for now.
And we will write it down as well. Thanks for joining us this week. My name is Corey.
And this is Final Boss Tom.
And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
Cleveland Gaming Podcast.
Powering down.